Well, it's good evening here. It's just gone past 7 o'clock in Queensland. It's 10 o'clock in the morning in UK. And that's my guest who's currently sitting just below me. And our guest is even further below, and that's our Michael Lamb. So Michael has come back for another round of esoterical knowledge to be shared from that great knowledge bank contained in here. So without further ado, I'll pass you over to Andrena, and then she can do the intros.
Well, good morning. Welcome everybody who's listening to Dreaming the New Dream. And I'm currently in Born End this week, so I'm coming live from the playroom. Welcome, Michael. It's lovely to have you back again. I've no idea where these subjects are going to go off. I know we're going to talk about the stars, the tree of life, the Kabbalah, and everything all mingled in, and it all takes its own momentum. So I would love to say welcome, Michael, and it's lovely to have you back again and sharing, because you've got so much knowledge and wisdom. I don't know how you keep it all in there. So please share. Where would you like to start today?
Well, I think the most popular topic at the moment seems to be about the tree of life, and many people speaking about the tree of life and what it actually represents and how it sort of came about through, I suppose, the Hermetic process, Hermetic Kabbalah, Hebrew Kabbalah, and along those lines. So it goes right back, stick back, way back before, the Egyptian pharaohs. It comes back a long, long way. And it's actually a map of the human soul, as it were, and how it's affected by the layers of bodies. You have the physical body, mental body, astral body, which is the soul. And then, of course, each of the chakras relate to certain planets, and also on the tree, if you see that model of the tree again, you'll see it's actually, there's a male pillar, a female pillar, and a neutral pillar, okay? So each of those 10 circles that we're looking at, there's actually 11, but 10 will do for now because that's fine. The 11th one's supposed to be hidden anyway. Okay, each one of those 10 circles are called Sephiroth, okay? And we can talk. The first Sephiroth is the crown, or called Kether. So if you look at the very, very top of that tree, has another little number 1, and Kether is actually ether, or some people call it chi, or some people call it prana or mana, the fifth element, the fifth dimension, that kind of thing. And if you were a tarot reader and you had like a Hermetic tarot deck, and once again, that's where the 4 aces, or the primordial forces of the 4 elements, come from, or what's called the 5th element, okay? It has a planet that relates to it, okay? And we'll talk about that more. That first top aspect is Kether, and it has all of these wheels, these Sephiroth, have a planet associated with it, and 4 layers, which are fire, air, earth, and water, or in tarot, it would be pence, cups, swords, and wands, or once again, there. So, and if it was worlds, it would be, in the pence would be to the physical or the material world. If it was to cups, it would be to the soul or the astral world, astral plane. If it was to air, it would be obviously to swords and to the mental plane and to the wind element. And if it was fire, it'd be to the akasa, or the spirit world, as it were. And that would be to, of course, wands. All right, so there are many different diagrams. And then it has a planet associated with that. And the top of the tree, the planet associated with that is Neptune. Now, Neptune is symbolic with a sea god in Roman mythology, or Greco-Roman mythology. The name Neptune relates to the god Poseidon. Ironically, the capital of Atlantis was called Poseidon, and that is another story we can get into at another date. But also, yes, a being that carries the trident, of course, is Shiva in your Indian mythology. Now, you can start to see there's a pattern that a lot of pantheons of gods and goddesses have in relationship to planets and energy. So we can use a few models to actually explain about the tree of life. So if you're working from the spiritual world of let's say tarot, or you're a reader and you want to understand more about these elements, we're going to get into them. Okay, so that starts to bring us down to each of the different Sephiroth. Now, each one of these circles, these Sephiroth, well, these planets, are connected by these lines of force, and there's 22 of them. You see the lines that link all the circles, the Sephiroth? There, each one of these planets is connected by these lines, and these lines are the 22 pathways, the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, or they're the 22 arcana, high arcana card in a tarot deck, for example. So if you're looking at this particular shape here, this particular tree of life, you'll see 0 and 1, 0 being the fool and 1 being the magician. Each one of these arcana cards relate to a planet or a particular constellation or element as well. So the magician relates to Mercury as well, and the fool relates to Pluto. Okay, it's a gateway card, but more on that as we go along. Okay, yeah. Now, if you look to the left, well, it's left on my screen, and the right on you, the other side of the screen, you have the male and the female pillar, as it were, or masculine and feminine, or negative and positive aspects. And we're being affected by these planets as we grow, because the planets are like the gods and the goddesses that relate to seasons and cycles that affect us in our spiritual growth, as it were, or our soul endeavor. Okay. So, yeah, so starting with the top, okay, Ketha relates to the ether, the etheric realm, the fifth element, the dimension beyond space and time, as it were. It's timeless and spaceless. All right. Now, if we move down to the top, the next chakra, if we top the female, the Shokma, okay, there, Shokma, that is to wisdom. It's the top of the female pillar, and that is to the third eye. Okay, so it's actually the dance of the serpents coming through as the third eye. It opens up. Eve's eye was open, as it were, and you'll see that with a lot of the pharaohic cartouches and many of the different sarcophagi. You'll see the serpent coming through there, and the bird as well. That's called the Uraeus. So that's the opening of the third eye. So it's a spiritual journey of absolute enlightenment. Okay, that's to the planet Uranus. So was the capital of Sumeria. Sumeria in Celtic, well, Suma means serpent, dragon, as it were. So the serpent energy is related to the Kundalini. So that is Uranus, the planet, that Chokma. Okay, so we're mapped out to the stars. So our solar system is actually our tree of life. We carry this all within us. So Uranus to the third eye. Okay, Neptune to the crown, ether to the crown, Uranus to the third eye. Now, if we go over to the third, okay, Bina, which is to understanding, or knowledge, whichever way you want to look at it. Bina is to the planet Saturn. Okay, once again, every one of these planets and every one of these Sephiroth have 4 layers. Okay, so that would relate on the tarot, okay, to the planet Saturn, and that would be, of course, to the 3s. Okay, Chokma would be to the 2s. Okay, Ketha to the aces, and of course, Bina would be to the top of the male pillar, and the chakra associated with Bina is the throat chakra. So voice and expression is very, very powerful. That's why singers and orators and actors and entertainers or lecturers or people speaking voice is very, very powerful. Okay, so voicing your energy. And Saturn, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, or Bina, Saturn controls karma. Okay, it's a very, very powerful planet. It is the ringed planet within our solar system. Okay, so going down that, we're going respectively, just to understand that it's the top of the male pillar. So we have Saturn at the top of the male pillar and Uranus at the top of the female pillar. And this is a pretty good accurate aspect. we're going to look at tonight with the tree. And I'll get into the arcana later. I'll just do the Sephiroth. It's the most obvious. Otherwise, it's too much unless you understand, deep mysticism, the tarot, Kabbalah, and all that as well. So we'll just go over this as a brief aspect. Once again, each one of these Sephiroth has the fire, air, earth, and water associated with it, or also, once again, pence is to earth, wands is to fire, swords is to air, and of course, cups is to water or fluid, as it were. So if we go over now, you got Chesed. Okay, see Chesed. It's the second Sephiroth on the female pillar of life. Okay, and Chesed relates to mercy and to Jupiter, the planet Jupiter. Now, each of these planets, as I say, they're almost, you can use them in different pantheons of gods and goddesses. Probably a little bit too much today, but depends. It's easier to explain if people follow different cultural backgrounds, okay, as it were. So Chesed relates to Jupiter. So the Greco aspect of that, or, Greek Macedonian would be, of course, Zeus, okay? And Jupiter has fundamental attributes to it as well. All right. So Chesed is mercy. Jupiter, its planet, is to what's called, I suppose, in many of the different astrology readings and things, most of the astrologers would agree, it'd be to civilization, it'd be to marriage, it'd be to the deeper aspects of civility and how societies and that work. Okay. So Jupiter sort of gets on with the laws of, mercantile and other planets as well, but we'll get into that as well. So Jupiter is to the mercy, on the pillar of mercy, as it were, because it's laid out. This is laid out in the Christian faith as well, if you want to understand. It's called the three crosses of Calvary. Okay, the middle crosser is Christ, and the other two is the robber and the thief, as it were, as I say. But it's about energy and polarity and how you're balancing when you're going on your spiritual journey up the Kundalini. So Chesed is to Jupiter. So it's all mapped out to the solar system. Your soul system is mapped out to the planets. We maketh man in the image of us, as it were. That's what the original Elohim stated, as it were, in the ancient texts, depending on how far you want to go back. But this goes back thousands and thousands of years, and it's how, of course, as I say, the whole tarot deck was set up. Your normal playing cards is only like a very watered down version of this, as it were. But like a tarot deck, of course, you have 78 cards, and we'll explain them as well. So, of course, Chesed, Jupiter would be to the fours in the lower arcana. Okay, but in the higher arcana, we'll go back. We'll go through the basic minor arcana. Then we'll go through the court cards, if you like, on the Tree of Life, and then, of course, we'll lay it all out. And if we can get to the higher arcana this evening, we'll see how we go. Okay, all right. So Chesed is the mercy, and Jupiter, of course, is the civility and society and a few other things. Okay, the fifth is justice, or Gabura. Okay, it's to Mars, the planet Mars, or the god of war, as it were, or god of energy, because Mars got a bad rap later in life. They look at him as this god of war, but earlier it's about energy, pure energy. Now Mars is the second planet on the male pillar, because these pillars relate to emotional energy. As I say, when you're in alignment with yourself, your energy is flowing in tune with the great work, as it were, in harmony with the Kether and the ether, and you're working with the planetary alignment. We're going okay? Anyone want to take a break yet, or what? But Gabura to Mars, it's a raw energy, and it's a raw male energy. So you see, a lot of men can't get past that on the pillar. If they can't get past their aggression or their negativity. And I'm not speaking on everyone's behalf. I'm just saying you can sort of see it. And you can see it in the feminine aspect as well. Okay, so that kind of but in a higher aspect, it's to strategies, it's to tactics as well. And these, by all means, are not just limited to the masculine and feminine on the two pillars, because we have both pillars within us. We have, the crosses across our back. We're mapped out to the crosses, as it were, or the tree of life. We carry the tree of life on us, as it were. So we can only access so much energy. If we open these chakras up too soon, we'd basically spontaneously combust. So until you're aware, you don't get through the veils. You don't get to see through the veils, as it were. That's part of what we were talking about before with Uranus being the third eye or the Ajna center and opening that kind of wisdom, as it were. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. No, I mean, I know bits and pieces of some of this, but I don't know it all. So you're opening up my awareness even more. Like, so, speaking for myself. But yeah,
Yeah.
fascinating. So what I'd
Yeah.
like to ask,
Yes. Yeah. Sure.
going back way back to when you were born, did you come into a family that were really into all of these different things, or did you come in as a really enlightened soul that you've developed it over as you've grown up?
Quite the opposite, actually.
Eh?
Quite the opposite, actually. No, I came into a very loving family that was awesome, and my father, had a trade. He's a carpenter, and also, he did his national service and that as well. So, we always had that, and he was also very, very healthy and fit. My mother was very, very loving and kind and hardworking as well. She had a job as well. I was just a very hypersensitive person when I was very young and very, I suppose, insecure as you go on. So I had to learn to, I don't know, sort of, I like to read and things like that. I was a bit of a nerd in some ways. And then, of course, I was also very physically active as well. But I didn't sort of really get into the spiritual side. I mean, I was really connected to the planets. I like that. I wasn't going to get into any of the mysticism until I suppose, when I started studying the Eastern philosophies, as it were. I went and started, looking at martial arts and studying those sorts of things. And then I found a very esoteric martial arts. The other martial arts were good, but they were just more physical, whereas I found a very esoteric martial art and it worked with the elements. And then I met my teacher, when I was about 20, 21. So that was good because, I don't think I was trying to fit in society and it just did not work. But as I say, I have a trade as well, as I say, so I'm good with my hands. I'm very grounded in that respect. So the spiritual side is like a very, very unique build. And then when we started I started at the School of Inner Knowledge in 85. I didn't come out of there till 95. So it was a good solid 9 years. End of 85, beginning of 95 finished. So that was phenomenal. So the training in that, it has all the spiritual disciplines as a base. When you're doing the Kabbalah, the alchemy of, the Kabbalah, it's phenomenal. So your base of that is meditation, visualization, and concentration, which is basically imagination, relaxation, and focus. And I needed that. And I met a really interesting teacher. His name was William Cook Edwards. That was back in 1985. And he said, you're going to be a very good teacher. You're very interesting. And I said, great. But I had a mind that scattered. So I learned to concentrate and focus. And meditation was the go for me. But we built it within the first few weeks and even few months. The disciplines were pretty solid. They were really good. You were learning to understand the planets and constellations and how it all connected. By late 86, 87, we were studying the tarot. But also in that training, you're not just like sitting in the silence. You're actually doing energetic meditations. You're understanding what's it like to feel your soul. Why? What is this soul? Who wants to know? And then by understanding that, you're understanding your astral body. And by understanding your astral body, you're understanding the astral planes. And then there's densities of the astral planes. What happens when you die? So also waking up in your dreams, these things. Dowsing, pendulum work, billet, reading a piece of paper or a photograph and getting an energy without knowing anything about it, So balancing both spheres, I suppose, of the mind, as well as harmonizing energy and harnessing energy. Later, to get real strength to your character, which I found very interesting, was the elements, which is basically the foundation of the tarot. The fire is, of course, the wands. The air is to, of course, the swords. Pence is to the earth, and the air, of course, to the swords. Would I mention that again? Exactly. Water to the cups, of course. It goes to cups. So those elements are constituent aspects in every level of creation. I don't care where you go. You can go out to Sirius, you can go out to Orion, whatever, and you're still going to have those basic elements. And they'll break down into the periodic table, whatever way you want to stack it. you're going to be working with these elements for the rest of your life. But if you understand how to build that energy in your body, it's a real discipline. And you do that through energetic work, condensing the elements. So you're literally becoming like a mountain, you're becoming like a crystal structure or a ruby or whatever. So that'll be earth. So you're breathing it in, you're becoming it. So you actually physiology changing yourself. It's not like you're conning yourself. You're actually mentally shutting your mind up and actually focusing on a discipline to the point that you're breathing it. Hence, if you saw like a master, moving chi energy around, or a 10th Dan black belt throwing 4th Dan black belts around the dojo like toys, not so much in the heavy physical, it's about the energy that you're working with, and the energy is coming from your center. And also, we're going to be talking about that in a minute on the tree of life again as we go. But getting back to this, that's the primal thing. I ended up, following my own pathway in the end. I love my parents. They were not like of the spiritual nature, although I had a great grandmother and a grandmother that were both pretty good at reading. Okay. And then they sort of saw that I had a bit of a shine to me. So, yeah, but I didn't learn much off them. I learned it more in the school, and then you had to go out and practice. So Bill, the teacher, he was pretty rough on us. Well, not rough, he was just hardly disciplined. So he got us in our early 20s, and we were out there reading, and we used to get these, hardcore psychic women thought, we were upstarts, and, what did we know or anything? But we learned, in that way, you're sort of confronting your own insecurities, your own weaknesses, your own doubts and your guilt. So once again, with the elements, the prime aspect is you're understanding that each emotion that the human body has, it relates back to an element. So therefore, you can checkmate it. So you're doing journaling, you're writing in your diary, your emotions through the day. It might be a bit of envy. It might be a bit of lust. It might be a bit of guilt. And it's a very honest way to look at yourself and find it. And also you find out what are emotional triggers that trigger you, this show, this music, these people. So you're actually reflecting on what's outside in the world back on your own self. Why are you triggered? And a lot of it comes back to programming. If you're programmed this way, like TV, news, general media, all that sort of stuff, they're programs. So a program, a gramophone record is a recording. So if you skip out of the recording, you're into your own zone, your own world. You can work in society, but you don't have to necessarily be completely controlled or owned by it. Same with a religion. You can look at philosophies without being, taking it on board, as it were. You can look at yourself in the third person. If you want to do psychic readings, you learn to discipline yourself that, you can tap out of yourself and then get yourself out of the way, because my personality wouldn't count if I was reading for someone, and that you give them the right answers that they need to help them in their life. So it doesn't have to just be tarot. If you're using a crystal ball, you're scrying, whatever, it's limitless. Whatever you want to do, you can do it, but just focus and master it, try and master that discipline,
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Yeah, no, I always like to find out how people start off in life, where the journeys took them, what tools did they have, did their parents help? And yeah, it's always nice to know.
Sculling these things on tape on live TV. Okay. Yeah, as I said, it was phenomenal. We had a really good class. It was over at Cooper's Plains, back in the 80s to the mid 90s, and then it sort of wrapped itself up, like all, I suppose, great things, they come to an end. And I was ready to leave by then anyway. I had a family and, a life that was going on there as well, which is, families first in everything, and I'd had enough, because you get full to a point. It's like when I talk to people, after about 5 seconds, they're full.
Yeah. Really?
It's just,
you've got so much information to share.
Look, when you meditate on planets, it's incredible. The phenomenal. You get down. It's like hanging out. Look, it's great to work with quartz, but when you work with emeralds, or sapphires, or you get a feel. You touch platinum. It's like, and you're open on all channels. It's like, what the, it's like. Look, if I go down the local park, that's great. But if I go to Avery or Stonehenge, it's a completely different experience, So it's great. Like at the local wooden church down the road, I'm sure they put that up in 1970 or something, and it's not Salisbury Cathedral, what I'm saying? So it's got energy and direction. You get to understand and you experience life, I suppose, a lot richer than you could possibly do it if you're caught up in the program or the illusion. And that's another thing too. There are veils around, I suppose, when we're born through. It can be an outer hole. It depends on the person. This is not judgment. It's just, I'm not here to offend anyone. I'm just saying, as you progress, you get to see through these veils. And if you're not ready to see through those veils, it'll scare the hell out of you. You know, this is where you can understand how to take, or understand how to take a mastership of your own life, you know, because your dreams are very subject to your interpretation. So what goes on in your dreams is the soul level. It's the astral planes. Okay. And things work a little bit different in your dreams as opposed to they do in this physical plane. Okay. So in there, you go through a lot of symbolism, and also time it's just like opening a door here, but you know, you can go down a timeline in when you open a door there in your dreams, as you can imagine. I'm sure we've all woken up on the other side and then, geez, I'm 5 years old again, or I'm back at that house, or I'm back in that relationship, or what is it? So in dreams, we have what's called a universal language, and this is what the tree of life, which is what we're doing tonight, and planets, and you can layer the whole lot together. It doesn't matter if you're doing numerology, astrology, cosmology, the whole kit and caboodle. It all works together, and when you get it, it's a cohesive aspect. So this is one of the big things I think is really important in my life, but also I felt a lot of people, it would very much benefit them, what they sense and feel in their dreams, what they remember in their dreams. That's another key, which I'll be talking about at my workshop this Saturday, how to remember your dreams a little bit more fully. It's a workshop. I want people to interact. I just don't want to be teaching theory. They've got to get in and actually start remembering and actually practicing their psychic abilities on other people. You've got to do that. Otherwise, it's just theory. You're just reading stuff out of books, and that's not how we used to do it. We used to get thrown into the deep end, and you got to have prac. You know, your spiritualism comes with practicality. I mean, I've got friends overseas. I mean, they're hardcore martial artists. They do that with their spirituality, and they're in their 50s and 60s, and those guys are rock solid, you know. But once again, they kind of, you know, that's their discipline. It's like some people are like that way built, and then there's other people that do their spiritual readings, you know, professional spiritual, you know, counselors, whatever. And spirit's a very, very broad term. It's spirit is spiral fire. That's what it really means. And everything is in vortex and spin. Water reconstitutes itself when it goes back into spin, you know, so it rebalances itself. That's why, you know, running water is very important. So some with fire creates vortexes, wind create vortexes. That's atmosphere, you know, wind and that. So even if you're a druid, we're still talking the same language. It don't matter, you know. Well, it does matter, but then it doesn't, you know. You're at the paradox. So as I say, I should break things down a lot more, whereas it's not that I'm trying to take things for granted. It's just that if you layer aspects of knowledge together, it gives it a lot more depth, and you can get to understand cultures, because we use an elemental table in the West. It looks different to the East, and there's a big difference people see, but it's not. You explain the 5, you know, it's the 5th element, you know, exactly. You get it. So the way our bodies and that are laid out is actually mapped out to the stars, which I attempted to talk about before. And these planets have a key aspect to that. And the constellations, the 12 constellations, you know, around the zodiac, that relates to a clock. It's just a clock. That's what it is. But that's a very oversimplified aspect. But it's actually our solar system growing through larger suns and solar systems, a lot, you know, it's our solar system growing up with its bigger sisters and brothers, as it were. So there's energy coming from the sun at trillions of levels, creating atmospheres, as it were. So yeah, well done. Okay, well, we're going to start with the basic. Well, I'll get to the metals. I'll get there. I'll get to the days of the week. I'll get to how everything's named and that as well. And that's just, you know, basically in our Western, you know, calendar calendrical system, as it were. So yeah, Saturn, of course, yeah, as I was saying before, the top of the male pillar is Kronos. You know, Saturn is the Saturnian. It's a Greco-Roman. So as you know, Kronos was a Titan. He was the chief Titan, or the father god of the Titans. Then came the Olympian gods. And then once again, you have a change at the end of precession of equinoxes. So every 2,000 years. Same thing happened in Egypt. Same thing happened with empires. So every time you have these 2,000 years, which is happening right now, you're going to have a change of, if there's wars on Earth, there's wars in the heavens. That's what we say. And so there's a changing, and there's powerful planetary lineups now. 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, you can go out there and see Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, and Venus. You just go, the lineup. It's a very, very powerful lineup at the moment too. Plus, we've got massive solar flares coming off the sun. So, you know,
it's all happening.
Talk about that. Oh yeah, welcome to 222. It's a 6, so it's a strong, powerful year, and plus numbers mean a lot too. And same with the calendar dates. We can talk about that a lot as well. But there's a lot, you know, we can get into. But we could go back to the tree of life when you're ready. But any more? Sorry, did I answer that question? I don't even remember.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Yeah, no, keep going. Right,
well, actually, I just need to come in there because
yes,
you mentioned when you got your training, you went to Cooper's Plains. So because of our global audience, I just want to say Cooper's Plains is actually a suburb in the south side of Brisbane. So just want to clarify that. The second one is Andrew Feasey stepped up with a question to say, where do you think the Tree of Life knowledge originated from?
Look, you're really going in beyond the mainstream time frame here. As I say, they're only saying they only aged the pyramids 2,300, 2,500 BC because that was all they sort of had at the time. But now you find places like Göbekli Tepe, they're 9,000 years old. That's carbon dating. That's mainstream. It's not like I'm making that up. So we've had a lot of these civilizations that we seem to have had you know, they're sort of written off out of history. You know, you got Scythians, you know, Tartaria, and of course Atlantis, Lemuria, and these places. And there's a lot of evidence there. It's not like it's just, you know, pulled out of the clouds. So I believe with the Atlantean civilizations, they had a lot of this too. But the ancient Egypt aspects, you've got to find older texts. Again, I mean, you can go back into Coptic texts or you know, I'm just going to run off names now. I don't really want to do that because I want to keep my audience connected.
Yeah.
As I said, I would say it's something that the way we're made. I believe we didn't just evolve from, you know, chimpanzees. We have a lot of that similar DNA, but I believe we have had a serious intervention, which is basically what's being said with the Adam and Eve story. That's an actual intervention of a very advanced race, putting their energy into our gene pool. So the Adamic race, as it were. And there seems to be quite a lot of that. So there's a lot more of this activity seems to be happening around now. So that's a lot to do with the Enlil Enki story. But as I say, even the Bible, our current Bible, is taken from older books. And if you really want to do your homework as a scholar and a researcher, a serious researcher, you want to go back to older Bibles such as the Aramaic Bible. If you can get a hand on one of those, good on you. Congratulations. There's the Septuagint that was originally written by 72 scholars. That was around the time of Constantine, and they wanted to bring in the Roman church religion as we know today. So a lot of the stuff didn't get put in there, and also a lot of stuff got destroyed at the Library of Alexandria. But lo and behold, a lot of that stuff was saved too. A lot of it actually got moved to a lot of the monasteries in Britain and all through Eastern Europe and places like that. It was kept in their catacombs. A lot of it was saved. But once again, the further you go back, the more of Pandora's box you're opening. And you will be blown out to find out who you really are. So the Tree of Life, if you actually looked at what holds us all together, if you actually looked at what held our physical body, our mental mind, our soul, which is our personality, our character, and the astral body, and our spirit together, because spirit's antimatter. It can't exist in this physical machine unless you got something to lock it all together, and that is the Tree of Life, which is basically an etheric web. Okay, hear that? An etheric matrix also. And you're getting into fifth dimensional physics. That's how you understand how planets and globes and that work. People say, oh, flat Earth has to exist because, if the planet's spinning like this, water's going to... You don't understand fifth dimensional physics. And, it's an impossible thing to explain unless you've got like a ton of charts and you're working through the time matrix. And this planet is interesting. It's more hollow. It's got a lot of tunnels and interesting aspects. So if you find out, you will never be bored for the rest of your life. You're just going to keep uncovering stuff. So, yeah, welcome to Cooper's Plains. It's a suburb of Brisbane. 27 stations I used to travel after work. Yeah, I'd work and then I'd travel all the way to the station, get off there and race to classes to learn this sort of stuff. And they weren't even teaching this. This is a lot more of my own journey, a lot of other authors and authoresses. And also, it all links back to a lot of the mythology and the legend. It's absolutely phenomenal. Our planet is rife with it. Don't get me started on dragons, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's another one we need to do.
Same creature as the dinosaur. Wait till you reach that.
Yeah, with wings.
It's a big game of hide and seek, and guess what? We're all involved in it. How's that? So yeah, because there are a race of beings that really want to hide our history. They're trying to destroy all the artifacts behind us because they believe where they're going is the best place to go for our species. Whereas if you destroy not just our history, it's our heritage. Her. Here's her. You get it? Yeah. The heritage. Yeah. It's not just this linear story. People think time is this straight line. That's an easy way to explain things in a 3D way. Yeah. But when you see it as a spiral, and 4D, moving spiral, it's intelligent design, incredibly intelligent design. It's live. Even the blood in your veins as I'm speaking to you, every person you met, it spirals through your body. Your heart whips it because it was just pumping it. It won't work. I've worked with liquid and oil and gas systems. I had a huge history in engineering and in construction. I know how things work in the 3D. So this physical body is a reflection of a higher self, as above, so below, as it were. I hope I answered that question too, Jeff. Andrew. There's so many questions I want to answer here tonight. Oh my god!
I know, it's amazing. I think there you are. Yeah, Wizard Michael. Thank you.
Oh God! Look, blushing now.
I'm thinking we must have one about dragons at some point. That would be a good.
Oh, that would be interesting because. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Just the passion.
Because there's sort of sleeping dragons in different places and waking up and all sorts of things.
Exactly. So that's the next 7 episodes. Hey, going with that, Jeff? Okay. The dragon is in every single culture in the world that I know of, and I'm not kidding. Everything from the rainbow serpent, and I'm not trying to steal or write anyone's culture. I have it with the highest respect. I just say it as a matter of fact offhand. You can go to China, you can go to Argentina, you can go to the Celtic Norse, you can go to Russia, you can go to Japan, you can go to Thailand, you can go anywhere you want. You can go to the dragon is there. So what's the skeletons that we've got of these dinosaurs? The word dinosaur didn't even exist 150 years ago. It didn't exist. And they come out with the whole Darwinian thing, which was actually a race with these other, paleontology. You don't want to get into that. The last thing that came out of Pandora's box is hope, according to Greg George. So just if you get into that, it's a real mess. But that whole Pendragon line of Arthurian myth, because my teacher was a long time, he had some really old, rare books. I mean, really old, prior to First, Second World War. And he asked me, because he knew that I was really hungry for this knowledge. He showed me this old book, and I'm looking at this king line of Britain. I'm not just talking the Welsh kings and the Scots kings and the Irish kings. It was over 100 kings at one stage, all not competing, but they were at the same time. Europe was full of kingdoms and queendoms, these realms, and realms they were, before the great Rome decided to expand out. But these that Pendragon line is a very, very important line, you know, the Joseph of Arimathea. But we'll talk about that another time, because they're called Pendragons for a reason. It's not just Uther Pendragon, you know, Arthur's father. It's a line, like the line of Merlin's. And they go back to the Mediterranean, particularly like around the Phoenicians. And that, once again, this could be like a 40-hour documentary. Should be, actually. It'd be great.
Well,
88 FM, folks. Gosh.
Just
And
quickly.
just quickly, I've heard that before. Oh, look, it's September. Yeah. Oh, gosh, yeah.
My sister's got 2 10-foot dragons in storage in Glastonbury.
As you would.
As you would, of course. And we...
Why wouldn't you?
We were in the Beltane celebration a few years back, which is May the 1st in... and thousands come to Glastonbury for that, and they have a massive parade. And anyway, she went to get one out, and she ended up getting the second one out, and then the Green Men and all of them, you know,
the Green Men, yeah.
Yeah, they said to us, "Come on, girls, you can lead the parade." So there we were, going up Glastonbury High Street with a dragon each, all the way up, and everybody's going click, click. And I said, "Oh my God."
It's amazing energy in Glastonbury. It's one of the areas on that ley line, doesn't it, that starts at Old Sarum and goes through Salisbury, right through Stonehenge, Avebury, and right Glastonbury Tor. Phenomenal. I remember when we were there, and it felt like, I know obviously the Himalayas are the top of the world, but it felt like it was the top of the world, or the veils were really thin. You could feel a lot of energy in the realms. Obviously, there's massive amounts of crop circle activity, and you know, if you want to follow that, you know, I recommend.
Another one.
Yeah, it's another one. Yeah, exactly. But the white horses, we were going to see all the white horses of Uffington and so on and so forth. The energy there was off the rick. It was like deja vu on steroids. Every minute or something. Everything was just the trees, like they felt they had eyes. So if you're very, I don't know, like attuned maybe to this work would be the right aspect. But everything from Druid folklore, there was a lot of lays that seemed to be crossing that major lay, and there was vortex energy going on. It felt like you were being watched by, you know, those spirits and sprites. And there's a lot of it in the law. It's actually history, you know, documented cases of people going missing in fairy circles. That's a huge aspect. So you're dealing with these timelines, and when people go into different spheres, let's say elemental spheres that we're talking about with the tarot and the tree of life, like there's an air sphere, which is sort of like your self, like fairy folk, brownies, quicklings, those kind of energies in the nursery rhymes. Yet the nursery rhymes are still around for centuries, and it seems to be this truth about them, you know, rather than what some politician said 2 weeks ago means nothing. It means nothing. You know, who cares what they said? What, you know, whereas some truth, you know, some God or some, you know, the Beltane festival used to say that it's a powerful time, May 1st. You know, it's celebrated for a reason, and it still keeps its ancient name. And that's why ancient languages, ancient symbology, ancient law, it's important that we keep that. And there's phenomenal mysteries that we unravel and we can connect with. It's a universal language that we're talking about, once again, that you have in your own dreams that other people have as well. So there is that key to also penetrating the veils and awakening one's higher self and one's knowledge into the greater realm of existence. So once again, we are the microcosm. If you looked at ourselves as being the center of the universe, which sounds egotistical, but it's actually not. Just let's say, for argument's sake, we're the center of the universe. If you went into ourselves and right down into the microcosm, down into the cells, you know, they would be similar, I suppose, in my thing, like galaxies and billions of stars. You get billions of cells, if not trillions of cells, like trillions of stars. So it's an infinite aspect of self-replication, as it were. And if you went into each of the cells, you get into the atomic levels, you know, molecular structures and the biology of it all. So it's all these things working at the same time, and that's it. And you're at that center. And if you go out from Earth, then you go to the planets, then you go out from the planets, you go to the solar system, and then our local star system, zodiac aspects, and then, you know, out to a local arm of this Orion galaxy. And if you left the Milky Way, you'd get to Andromeda, and, you know, it's just infinite. And infinite I unite, which is the key to the five. You know, that's why it's really sacred in Masonic law. It's called squaring the circle. I've done it at many events. I show people how to square the circle with a 5. And that's interesting what we're getting to with Mars on that tree of life. So it neatly comes back to that segue. And we're saying on the tree of life, yeah, the Mars is the 5. But each of those planets also do these incredible geometric dances too. But yeah, more on that. That's a lot of John Martineau's work. There's a book called The Little Book of Coincidences. And I won't promote books here. All I want to do is promote my own stuff tonight. I'm flat out in remembering, you know, how to sort my laundry out some days. So, gosh,
That's the mundane.
that's beautiful. There you go. There's the Druids. Is that Corin? Probably is. So Corin Thistlewood there. So that's the Maypole, 1st of May. Is that right?
Yeah, it's down there in Glastonbury.
Oh, I love Glastonbury. Exactly. So people dress up.
Oh,
and it's a very.
You can act your shoe size down there.
What's that? You can shoe size.
You can act the shoe size.
You can act the shoe size. Okay. Yeah, yes. I love it.
I'm 5.5.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. Okay. How are we going with the tree of life? I know I couldn't get my planetary pictures over. I did drop them in a few times.
No,
I've been working.
Okay,
that's good. No, that's okay. We'll stick to that basic.
No, where do you want to start with? You want to start with Uranus or what?
No, that's okay. We'll go through the tree of life again. Just we're at Mars. I'll just go back through that symbol if people are watching, and then I'll go and then we'll talk about the pictures. That's Neptune. Yes. Is that Uranus? Okay. Yeah, Uranus. Is that Uranus? Okay. Uranus. Okay. Yeah, Uranus. Okay. So that's. Yeah, and if you know who Uranus was, he's the father of the Titans, okay? You know, in the Greek Macedonian mythology, that, you know, he married Gaia, or his union with Gaia created the Cyclopses, the Hecatoncheires, and the Titans, as it were. So, yeah. And then, of course, Kronos, his father, Saturn, you know, the next planet in line, you know, as we come to these next stages, he takes over, as it were. And yeah, and that's Saturn. Well done. Okay, so Saturn's the one with the rings. Okay, has a hexagram on top. We'll do that more when we do the planets as well. So yeah, so Saturn, that planet relates to the throat chakra in our Kabbalah, and Uranus is to the third eye. So Uranus is to the serpent energy in that planet, and awakening the third eye is basically your Kundalini crossing over, like the Caduceus and waking. That's Jupiter. Okay, so now Jupiter is, as I said, to civility. It's the largest planet in our solar system. It's bigger than all the other planets put together. And once again, it's Jupiter Hera. You know, that's the next age of gods, or the next procession of equinoxes, as it were. So it's another 2,000-year cycle when the Olympians did rule, as it were, in their part of the world, simultaneously with these other gods, because there seems to be a lot of history of where these gods have ruled in the physical plane and then moved on into the stars, which is what the Egyptian pantheon was about as well. That's Mars, Ares in Greco-Roman, Mars, okay. Yeah, that's number 5 in Kabbalah. Jupiter's 4, Saturn's 3, Uranus is 2, Neptune 1. Yeah, so if you're looking at those planet Earth, yeah, where that's number 10. Well, that's Malkuth, foundation, the very foundation of the tree of life, Earth. Okay, they got through. That's the same one I have, is it? Did I send that one through? I don't know. Got there. I'm glad. No, okay, yeah. So that's Kingdom Malkuth. Now we're at the bottom of the tree of life. So Earth is your foundation. This is where you build your house, your kingdom, your castle. This is where you incarnate to have your family and your bloodline, your ancestral bloodline, right back to whenever, you know, and that's why it's, you know, quite easily be related to, let's say, esoteric folk, you know, like the Cleopatras or the, you know, the Tutmosis or the Merlin, you know, lines, or any of the famous, you know, anyone that's sort of sticks out in history. It's not that far removed if you actually go back a few generations. That's Venus. I'm pretty sure that's Venus. Yeah, by the looks of that. Yeah, Venus is the first Sephiroth on the Tree of Life. Relates to 7, the number 7 in Kabbalah. Yeah, Netzach. Okay. Yeah, and it's an aspect of the feminine when she first away. It's a very loving vibration. Aphrodite in your Greco Macedonian, and that is the Venus energy. It's very much to loving and sexuality and connecting with life and loving life itself. So it's very feminine. That's why it's the first planet in the pillar of the tree of life, as it were. So it's very much a part of that. So Venus, and also it's about, you know, a lot of grace and eloquence, as it were, too. Yeah, if you go back to the tree and or any of the other planets, the sun sits in the middle of the whole deal. The sun is the solar star. That's the moon. No, that's fine. We'll do that. There's the moon there. That's Yesod. That's number 9. You know, it also relates to geometry, and that we'll get to that as well. But that's number 9. You know, that's not right. That's 9. Oh, it's right. Yesod, but foundation isn't right. Foundation's 10. That's Earth. But Yesod is actually to emotions. Okay, the moon is an amplifier of energy. That's what the moon does, and Yesod as well. I was thinking those words are a bit. Yeah, I had to sort of some pulling up with another tree of life. Some of their words aren't matching up, but that's okay. It's no big deal. We're doing fun here. So Yesod is the moon, okay, or Set, or Luna, or Artemis. You know, different names, different cultures. We could go on for ages about the different names and different cultures. And the moon magnifies energy. So the moon amplifies, you know, or moves the tides in and out. So if we're liquid, you know, 70 to 90%, the moon is magnetizing or amplifying our moods, our emotional moods, as it were. So exactly. Now we're at the sun, our soul star, the sun. Soul star, the sun relates to the heart, Tiphareth, or beauty. Yes. So there's many names here attached to it, but Tiphareth in the Kabbalah. Okay, Tiphareth. So it would go into many other names. So in Greco Macedonia, it'd be Helios. Later, the next set of gods would be Apollo. Before that, if you went back to Egypt, to be Osiris. You know, they're sun gods. You know, Ra, Ammon-Ra. You know, he's an Egyptian sun god, and they have a time when they named this. Okay, so that was a big split in Egypt as too, when the end of the cycle, which is actually what's being said in the Old Testament. You know, it's the end of the age of the, you know, the golden calf. That whole story, Moses and that's the end of the age of Taurus. So we're coming into the age of Aries at that stage, okay, in about 2,000, 4,000 years ago. So that is moving through the Aryan, or the age of Aries, the ram. And then we've just come from about 2,000 roughly to about now, where we are here now, about 2,000, from 0, time of Christ, to 2020. That's the Piscean age. And it goes anti-clockwise, counterclockwise. So now we're moving into Aquarius, age of Aquarius, for 2,000 years. Okay, this is how ages work. And this is, as I say, using the tree of knowledge, or the tree of life, it's a really good foundation, as it were. It looks like Mercury. I think it is Mercury. Okay, yeah. Mercury is the first Sephiroth, or the first chakra, or the first energy level, Hod. It's to the 8 on the male, or the masculine side of the tree of life. So, yeah, as I say, once again, the polarity, these are called Joachim and Boaz. Okay, if you're studying Masonry, or you're studying High Arcana, or anything along those lines. So, you know, when you enter a particular hall, I won't do any names, that you're going through those 2 pillars. So you're going through the entrance. Okay, so that's your 2 pillars, and the neutral pillars. When you go through the entrance, you go to the altar. So you're entranced, and you're going to the altar. So I could show you how this is laid out on some cathedrals. Some just use a basic 4-tier cross. This is actually 3 crosses. So anyway, as we went down, we finished with Mars last time. Over there, as I saw, we went through the planet aspect. We had Netzach, which is Venus, and then over, of course, to Hod, which is the base. So if you're looking at those pillars, Okay, masculine pillar, and then feminine pillar, and then we go to the neutral pillar. So we'll go through the masculine first. So that is Mercury is to 8, Mars to 5, then Bina is 3 to Saturn, and then you cross over on the feminine spiritual side. You start at Venus, and then you move up through 4 to Jupiter, so 7, 4, and then 2 to Uranus, Chokmah, third eye. So you go through different polarities of your spirituality, and also you've got to get into, if you don't have to believe in reincarnation, if you don't want to, but if you believe in reincarnation, you may have activated this, or more than likely you've activated this from previous cycles or previous incarnations, as it were. So you might have picked up where you left off. So you might, first 5, 10, 20, I don't know, years before, you pick up and think, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, So yeah, absolutely. Is that Pluto? Is that?
Yep.
Yep, I got it. I'm not bad. I got that. It's Pluto.
Darth.
Pluto, yeah. Pluto relates to death or death, and there's a reason why that. And it's actually a hidden chakra, which we practice in Kabbalah. In between the heart and the throat is what's called the mid-heart, and it's actually to the 11th chakra, or 0. You can put it as 11, or you can start with 0 again. And it relates to the Fool on the tree of life, or Pluto is death. And the reason why that, if you know the name Pluto in Roman mythology, Pluto is a dog, okay? Pluto's a dog, like in Walt Disney, right? So if we go back to Greco-Roman and Egyptian, I'm just using these things here because if I start with all the philosophies on the planet, I'll be here till, October or something. So I'm just, they're simple.
Sorry, no.
Most of them, yeah, that's okay. So Pluto is actually, just above the sun in the central pillar, and it's death, okay, or death. And it relates to when you pass over to what's called the hallway, or the cave of souls, what it's called, the palace of souls. So when you're incarnating, you're going through what's called that level. Okay, so another incarnation, come back, another cycle. You pick your soul group, you pick your family, get a new body, and boom, away you go. As long as you've got pretty clean karma, you go there. But this is interesting because Pluto in Greco-Macedonian, Greek, relates to Hades. Okay, Hades. And the dog that it guards, the guardian of Hades, is Cerberus, a three-handed, Cerberus, three-headed hound. It's a guardian. Okay, so guardians are used around the world. Generally, they can be gargoyles. You see foo dogs in, your Chinatowns. They're guardians. Outside town halls and civic centers, you see lions or dogs, 2 dogs. Now, this is what we're getting into with Pluto, and that's why Pluto's been written off. It's such a small dwarf brown planet, but it actually has a lot of history and meaning to it. Now, we've done it with, the Roman name being Pluto. Let's say the Greek Macedonian is Hades and the underworld. You're in the underworld, the other world, I don't know, life after death. And if you go to the next, if it was Egyptian, it would be Anubis. Now, Anubis guards it. And if you've seen the ancient papyruses that we can get into later, it shows that you can't, go through, you can reincarnate, but you can't resurrect until you can survive death, which is the whole thing with Anubis guarding the scales, and they weigh your soul against the feather. So if you're carrying any emotional karma and guilt and all this drama, you can't get through. So you can't resurrect. You can reincarnate, but you can't resurrect. Now, the difference between reincarnation and resurrection, which is why a lot of spiritual people can resurrect, highly spiritual advanced, is you can survive death. Like, you physically die, but you're conscious on the other side, and you can move. You just pick your next cycle or whatever, or you say, oh, I've had enough cycles on Earth. I'm going out to Sirius or, Andromeda. I've had enough of this. I'm going back to the Pleiades or whatever. So that sounds weird. Or you might incarnate another time. They say, listen, we've got a mission for you back down this timeline or in the future or whatever. And they're the powers that be. But this is so far beyond the average person's comprehension, because you're actually working in the world of angels, fallen souls, genie, and jinn, and things like that. And it's a massive concept for people to get. Like, most people are flat out getting like the concept of God and Jesus, and the rest is just scenery. Like, that's like that's their thing. Fine, no knocking them, but as I say, that's how it works. So you're actually opening chakras, and chakras, of course, are energy wheels. They're like multidimensional electromagnetic conducers, whatever you want to see it. They're energy wheels. So like, if you looked at your solar plexus chakra, from, I suppose, from a Hindu point of view, it'd be the Suryantra. Okay, so it'd be a layer of all these triangles. So if you actually looked at that, you'd see it in a 4D shape. So it gives you access to areas of energy and knowledge, you know. So you get to understand the depth of planets and the hidden knowledge, and you can do anything with this knowledge. Once you start to work on the tree of knowledge, you can visit the planets, you can go down timelines, you can see the truth for what it really is. And that's what the tree of life is. So the tree of life, once again, you see it there now with this picture here. This is called the flower of life, and the tree of life is meshed in it. So what I was saying before, if you look at this picture here, this graphic now that Jeffrey's brought this up, and you can see the two pillars and the middle pillar. Now, that one just before the triangle on the top, there's the flower. You see the flower crossing over above the sun. That is where Pluto resides. It's death. So it's a mystery, and it's you won't get through that label. You know, like the guardian dogs, as it were, the hounds of hell. Basically, you must be the hounds of hell. You can't go through there unless you're like almost like a what they call a demigod, or demigoddess. You have energy that you're aware, and you can get through the sacred veils. Thank you very much. That was interesting. Okay, okay, that's good. How are we? Okay, good. Wow, looks like a new person. You little pixie, you. Far out.
Yeah, the beanbag started to drop down.
Okay. So that was Pluto and the Tree of Life there, and the secret to death. And yes, and the secret of the universe was that. Thank you. Okay. Yes, we can. Someone was it, Julie? Can we reincarnate to the past as well as the future to learn lessons? Yes, this is as doable as well, but it's a little bit more complicated than me just saying yes, you can get into past and present, because we're looking at time as like a sea rather than a line. You're looking at, you can enter it at certain places, or it's when people what they did with the Philadelphia experiment. It goes through like a cycle, like the Mayan calendar. I know I'm getting in the Mayan calendar now. Gosh, we're in South America. It was fantastic. We've traveled most of the world. We've gone through the solar system. Why not go to South America? Exactly. So the Mayan calendar is actually very complex, but very simple. It works to the 13 cycles of the moon. It's a lunar calendar, which a lot of the calendars used to be. They used to be feminine to the matriarchal cycle. Okay. And it works to the 20. But anyway, with advanced getting in and out of time portals, you work to what's called the 9/11 or the 20 cycle. Okay, so you split 20, but you don't split at 10/10. You split at 9/11, and this is advanced. This is advanced magic. This is advanced time travel. But to get into that is not sort of topic of the subject that we're dealing with tonight. But if you understand that, this is how you slide what they call sliders. They made shows about all this stuff, but I mean, they're obviously based on reality. Yeah, but you've got to understand how to get in and out. There's different ways to get in and out of places. I mean, if you've got the right frequency, you can. It's just like a code. If you have the right frequency, you can get in and out of a plane or a dimension. You don't want to stay there. It's kind of like if you went into a fairy realm. You know what I mean? You can get trapped over there. Oh, wow, 2 years or, the 2 months has passed. You come back to your realm, 200 years has taken place, because it's a different time matrix. There's the Mayan calendar there. Thank you very much. Or the Aztec wheel there. And once again, we'd have to get into all the different cultures of South America. But once again, it's a little bit vast for this particular topic tonight. But there you have the 20 different days. We do a 10. Our counting system goes to 10 and then repeat. They go to 20. And then it's another wheel within another wheel, and it accesses, their cycle's a little bit different, but I won't try and explain the main calendar. I just don't have the time. No, it's just
that's another one.
Yeah, we're doing the Tree of Life. Yeah, let's compress. Yeah, let's do 25 years of the Philosopher's Stone. Let's compress that in like 2 hours. That's great. So that's why people think, oh, you're talking like this and this. As I said, but once you work on the tree of life, and you have, a really good teacher, or if you can train yourself, okay, we'll get to Vitruvian Man. We're going to get to Vitruvian Man. Thank you very much, Jeffrey. And I'm loving your graphics. Thank you. You did a great job. Whereas me, I was completely lazy. I was just totally caught out with tiling and, recording this week and, building websites and all sorts of crazy stuff. And, so thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. But yeah,
So how can we
Vitruvian Man.
bring that into our lives? That was a question I saw flashed up about bringing it into your everyday life, I think.
Yeah, it's something that's like you can read about it, and there are different tutorials and that online. I'm going to put a tutorial together. As I say, what did Andrew just ask me? Hang on. Okay, Andrew, I'm going to ask that question back in a minute. He just asked, Michael, how can we use the flower of life in our everyday lives and things like that? I do use it, but I use it. The flower, you're seeing it as a circle. Okay, see this tree that you're looking at now, this tree of life, you're seeing it as 2D. It's a 2D drawing, two-dimensional drawing, left and right, as it were, up and down. Okay, so you're starting to sort of see that. But we live in a 3D world, which is governed primarily by time. And time being the fourth dimension, or that matrix. People say, time's an illusion. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah, if you're in higher level understanding, fine. But otherwise, we're in the physical body and we're aging. Okay, so age takes over our physical bodies. They wear out and so on and so forth. Got to get a new one, So the understanding the flower. I've got to get back to your question, Andrena, because you asked it first, and I'll answer Andrew's, and then I'll get back to Jeffrey.
It was Andrews. It was Andrews about bringing it into everyday life. So,
yeah, look. The thing is to say, I would use it because on the way to work, I would used to do simple things for it, like a mantra. Okay, and I just know that the planets are just like constant there. It's more the bigger picture. And sometimes the bigger picture isn't that relevant in your day-to-day life. Whereas if you looked at the flower of life, it would be like a torus, like a field that exists. It's like you could look at it as a sphere. A torus, I don't want to get into that. That's too big. But if you actually surrounded your body with it, it'd be like an energy field. That would be very, very good. And also, if you looked at it like the tree of life, you could flush out a lot of negative energy. Okay, it's just an understanding of how things work. It's just another way to describe energy on a complex level, but it's actually quite simplified. So understanding that you carry the cross, upon you, and the flower of life around you, you could use it as I'd use it as like an energy shield or something, from negative. People get so caught up with, these frequencies, the EMF and the 5G and the cloud and the spraying and the the pesticides. If you're using these kind of energies, you're balancing a lot to it. I mean, not saying that you're gonna, sniff some, I don't know, round up and drink it or something. That's I can't protect you from that. But you're actually understanding the energy, where it comes from. So therefore, on a day-to-day, yes, Taurus field, thank you very much. So you're sort of seeing that matrix there. So you're understanding that you are a whole being. Your love is amplified through your heart chakra. See how the heart there. So you recrystallize yourself. So if you're going through a negative emotion, you just sort of visualize like flower life or a Taurus field, and you're just cycling the energy out. It's like you're cleansing the waters. It's like you're purifying your water. You're purifying your field. You're cleaning your house. You're getting rid of the clutter. Okay, that's a very simplified way of saying it, and I think it's a very useful way of saying it. With that simplicity of that, by seeing that, see how you see that grid there, that toroidal field, tree of life, flower of life, all in that. It's all mapped in there. But once again, you're looking at 4 dimensions there. And that's the same way you look at your life, being controlled by an emotion of, I don't know, let's say you're getting a lot of flack, jealousy, disappointment, you failed this or whatever. That energy is like static to us. It's kind of like a really bad radio or TV show. It's like static and grinds on us, like some newscast or something. It's just grinds on us. So you want to flick that energy. So that static, that negative emotion, that negative mood, you want to be able to churn it through, let it go through a process. Sometimes it takes a little bit more time. So your flower life, you can regenerate, or recrystalline your structure. You recrystallize yourself, as it were. as I said, we're actually speaking about so much here. We're covering a lot. Thanks for those graphics, Jeffrey. They're great. I'm glad I almost chose them, but didn't. It's good. Thank you so much. They're brilliant. So I don't know if that explained it. It all sounds so a bit complex, but I just sort of visualize that sort of energy around my field, and I tend to get on through most life. It's a more complicated thing. As I said, I would, for example, if I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I looked at those planetary energies, or I saw the moon last night. The moon was phenomenal last night. I don't know if any of you saw it. It was like, it's sort of just phasing out a full moon, but as it was rising, it was like red and orange, and it had an incredible corona. To me, it's really easy to see auric fields and vibrations when it's like that. You can see it pulsing. It's just pulsing and pulsing and pulsing. So it's the same with what we're doing here in the bigger picture. You're getting to actually see vibration, energy, auras, and corona fields, as it were. I better not use the word corona. It's got to
Yeah.
better not use that. Okay, yeah, auric fields. You can get to actually sort of see an energized field. So by looking at the moon, obviously not for too long, that will be the lunar aspect, which is lunacy, but it amplifies energy. So you can see, as I say, it's dragging the tides in and out across the planet. People are asking me about my website. I'll get to it. It's actually under construction again. No, it's actually working, but if you got to go to the classes, you got to go to the top bar. The classes on the front page there. Anyway, I'm just remodeling that. I better get my act together and finish it off tonight. Yeah, so once again, I'm saying through the planets, you get to see different things. Just by having our sun and our moon, you get to understand that the sun is creating so much life, and every single spiritual person that's ever walked on this planet still walked under the sun. It's still walked under the stars. And there's been so many great teachers, and there are so many more to come as well. So we reincarnate. We understand that in our lives, it's okay. You make a mistake, you get to fix it up. And some of your greatest mistakes are your best learning. That's how I look at it.
Totally.
Okay. Yeah. Does that help at all? Or is it, as I say, it's good.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many things to think about.
You'll never be bored for the rest of your life. Trust me, you won't be. Okay. I hope that explained that. Once again, as I say, I'm teaching this Saturday at the Theosophical Society. We've got the fourth in our series of workshops, so I have to get back onto my structure. We've got 4 hours there. We'll be filming there as well. We're doing a little doco as well. So Cameron and Vesna and I think Sharon's rolling up this time as well.
And this is about dreaming.
It's a little bit on dreaming. We're talking about dreaming, how to remember your dreams, and how to, understand a little bit of the symbolism, because a lot of symbolism that takes place in a dream, what's that symbol of a flood taking place? What's the symbol of myself seeing myself in my childhood? What's going on there? We can only cap so much, because I'll be doing later courses now. I do students online. It's just so much easier, one-on-ones, rather than trying to get to places. I'll be traveling later in the year as well. So there's a lot of this as well. And also next Friday week, the 29th, we're at the Salisbury Centre. And we'll be doing that Brisbane Friday, the 29th of April. Thank you so much. 7:30 p.m. at the Salisbury Centre at 183 Lillian Avenue, Salisbury. So that's in Brisbane. Oh, on that course, more of the same what we did tonight.
Really?
I don't even know which planet I'm on at the moment. As I said, no, I'm planet Earth. Great, fantastic. Moon's out there. Great, great. Look, we'll be talking a lot about the stars. I think we'll be doing a little bit about Orion and Sirius. That was what I was getting back to. Probably a little bit on the Pleiades. Talking about pyramids and how you can get in touch with this knowledge, and what are some of the good things that you can do with it as well. I mean, the Salisbury Hall actually met one of the curators there. Young fella came to one of the gigs there. Yes, there we go. That's the great Orion's belt, and it's mapped out to the pyramids on our planet. Not just the pyramids of Giza, but also to the great pyramids of Teotihuacan. okay, in Mexico. So they had the Pyramid of the Moon, the Pyramid of the Sun, and the Pyramid of Quetzalcoatl. Okay, so Quetzalcoatl, as you know, is another name for a sun god. So those pyramids are laid out mathematically to the belt stars of Orion. So what's all that about? Let's endeavor to find that out. So as I say, many researchers have come before me, and so I'm standing on the shoulders of giants here. So we'll probably mention some of the work that Graham Hancock done, as well as, not probably will, as well as Robert Bauval, who studied this and cracked these codes as well. And there's been many other researchers in that have been fascinated by Orion. And the funny thing about Orion, it's just out of our zodiac. It's in between Taurus and Gemini, but sort of just in a little bit. So Orion has a very long history with advanced cultures. Some sort of see it as, the aspect or the key to the Orion Aryan connection or whatever, another culture that was sort of taken out, written out of history. Once again, that age sort of was the end of the Taurian age, as it were. So, the bull culture, once again, is mapped out, through a lot of symbology on our planet as well. So we might talk a little bit about this symbology, how it relates to your dreams. We'll talk about that on Saturday, as well as we'll be going back over some of the basics of meditations. We'll meditate just simply on the chakras to get everyone into the room. Okay, so we'll go through the 7 chakras just to get their energy to a really good level for learning. If you don't meditate, it's very, very hard for the mind to take it in. The mind's got so many thoughts going through it. We want to just slow that down and get into a space where you can focus and absorb. With the workshop, of course, we supply pens and notepads, really good foolscap size pages. And there's also, there'll be really good stones for sale there. We have shungite bracelets. They've become very, very popular. Shungite bracelet, I'll show you. Shungite's very, very good for EMF at the moment. EMF seems to be a problem with a lot of people. It's very good to put in your water, shungite. Its molecule is the C60 carbon molecule, so it disperses. It's actually like a semiconductor. Here, I'll show you. I've got a couple of pieces here. I carry them with me everywhere. So that's lapis. This is shungite. So we'll have these for sale. Shungite bracelets. They're quite good. I've carried shungite for years. I just have it. It's a semiconductor. So semiconductors disperse energy. So it's not mumbo jumbo we're talking about here. We're actually working with the scientific aspects, and you can actually rate it on a tester as well. Not just EM field testers, but it has its own electric and magnetic charges, although they're minor. This is obviously what we deal with in the tech age. This computer screen we're looking at in a moment, it's obviously LCD, which is liquid crystal, display, which is probably a combination LCD, LED, light emitting diodes, which is just electrics and magnetics, and we'll have that for sale. We'll also have the elemental keys for sale. It's a USB key that you can learn about the elements from as well. I'll answer as many questions as I possibly can. How are we going for time there, too, by the way? Because I've got to restrict.
I think I would prefer to carry on, but I think at this moment in time, Andrena's got she's got to look after the zoo. She got the zoo.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. They're morphing. Exactly.
If we just finish up with Andrew's question then. And then
sure. Absolutely.
And then we'll book you in for next month for another talk.
Absolutely. We're hoping to get back out to teach the stars too. This is the elements key. It's wonderful. It's a beautiful aspect. It's got all the knowledge on there. I take the meditations there. Look at my beautiful fingernails. Aren't they gorgeous?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, very nice. They're better than mine.
Oh, yeah, beauticians go nuts on my fingernails. I go, what the heck? What are you doing? No, they're real. I have really fast growing bones and nails. It's some condition. It's not a negative condition. It's actually really good. I can tear rust off steel girders of these things. They're like talons. Exactly. Yeah. Thought you'd need to know that just in case. You could work that in your daily routine as well. And this is the planetary one we've been working on. Cameron Street and I and Vesna Stajovsky, we've all been working on this one here. So we're meditating on the planets. They're doing really good recordings there. And it's got my logo on there as well. Da-da-da. Okay. So you plug the USB key in. It has all the planetary pictures, exactly like Jeffrey's tonight. As well as all the information on the planets and a little information on the gods and that. Plus, I do spoken word meditations, how to actually work with the planets in a meditative aspect. And so once again, with the silver one, it's for the elements. So learning about that, we talk about a lot of these things as well. I know I speak about a lot of advanced stuff, but it's to say there's some really good things that you can use in your day-to-day life. And shungite's a really good stone, I think, that we need in this age at the moment. We're absolutely bombarded by massive amounts of electromagnetism, you know, just even in these computers now, your wireless, you know. I'm not saying it's all negative in that. It's just having something around that's going to just bump the frequency up or down a couple of frequencies for your betterment, as it were. You know, it's intelligent stone, living stone. And speaking of living stone, that's how your computers work, and you know, your screens work, you know, all your mobile phones, it's all metals and stones. That's all it is. Like the glass, it's sand, you know. And instead of using copper wires, they're using obviously high end either silver or, you know, any of the platinum group elements. Superconduction.
Hey, this guy Hassan asked, do you have to wear the crystals? Do they have to touch your skin to be effective?
You can program crystals. You can program crystals to do a lot of things, but once again, they have properties that they're close to as well. It's kind of like wearing a copper bracelet for arthritis. You know, like you got iron running through your blood, and copper, okay, near the skin is quite protected. It doesn't have to touch the skin, but as I say, I have a topaz ring, and once again, it's old school, so you know, the stone sits close to my skin, but you know, there's a lot of diamond rings and emerald rings and that. It's close to helps. On the skin's probably better, you know, because your skin is the largest organ, you know, in and on your body, the epidermis. So that helps a lot. But once again, just having, I call them pocket rockets. You know, I carry stones, you know, even when I travel, you know, it's kind of like, having crystals in the house in the right place. You know, if you're doing feng shui, air and water, having crystals or mirrors, you can bounce energy, you can balance energy. That's it. So I don't know if I'm answering that question, but once again, it's just like, I find them quite inspiring, you know?
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I wear them next to my skin. I often, and I carry shungite as well.
Yeah, it's a good black tourmaline if you're obviously a holistic healer. There's God, there's so many things you can. Where do you start with all this? It's massive. Like the gemstones alone. Oh, well, it's October again. Well, where do you want to start? I mean, we can do quartz, we can do shungite, we can talk about fossils. They're phenomenal. If I showed you my collections here, I've got everything from kyanite to you know, shark's teeth, you know, or you know, megalodons and that as well. Plus shells too. I'm very fascinated because they grow in these geometric patterns. And once again, lapis lazuli is probably one of my favorite stones. There's semi-precious stones you can get to. You know, you go aquamarine, you know, spinels. You know, what you're drawn to. There's a whole thing. I do a whole talk just on stones and stones in crowns and sacred stones and scepters, everything from the Korean scepters, sacred crowns across the planet, and what was very powerful stones by different cultures, like rubies, the sultans, and many of the sheiks, and many, they go for the rubies, that kind of stone too. And of course, they are very much connected to the very first lasers. So they're an intelligent stone. So more on that as we go. We should come back and talk about them more. So thank you very much for having me. It's been wonderful.
It's been a pleasure. And like, there's so many, like you say, so many different ways we can go off different tangents on all of these things. So.
I don't know what you're talking about, you strange people. What exactly? I came here to order a really good piece of fruit, and now look at what's happened. I've had a.
According to Vera, you got long fingers. You should be playing a musical instrument. And I was going to be cheeky and say you're playing the Vesna instrument.
Yeah. Well, I'm very expressive with my hands, and I'm very creative with my hands as well. And as I said, once again, there's that growth. And I should be playing a musical instrument this time. I've got flutes and things, and people say, you'd be a phenomenal guitarist. And yes, I do love guitar and that. But this is my journey is more about the spirituality side of things too. If I pick up a guitar, I've got guitars here, I've got boomerang, I've got plenty of toys. It's just such a brilliant thing. So yeah, I should be more the artist. You know, there's so much to share.
We don't do shoulds, woulds, or coulds.
No, we don't do should, woulds, or could. It's an alternative lifetime. So I'll probably be the lead guitarist of Black Sabbath in another cycle or something. I don't know. Bass player for Pearl Jam. I got nothing, you know. So I do admire brilliant guitarists, you know. I really do. I really like that. I thought that sound, you know, was unreal. But look at the pianists, you know, players, and I love fantastic instruments and all the brass woodmen. Anyway, that's my passion.
Right. Sure.
Michael.
Just want to ask this particular person.
Salisbury. Yes.
Now this one here, I don't know how you pronounce it. Hussein, is it? It sounds like
Hasne Aslantas. Hasne. It could be.
I don't know. I don't know the gender. Is it male or female? Or just.
It looks like a lady picture.
Mm.
It'd be nice if you could come and let us know. I've got a funny feeling. It feels like Arabic.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. Just ask the question.
Right. No, you're most welcome. To say thank you very much for the viewers, the listeners too, as well. It's been a wonderful, wonderful evening. So I probably kept on my neighbours up with my passion of yelling. You know, it's great. I'm getting into hugging. We should have a hugging college. You know, so got a degree in hugging. I got a black belt in hugging. Just hug the life out of people, and then put another life back in them.
You went into the male number 3. You went into Chester.
Chess. Yeah,
voice going, protect it.
Voice is a very, very powerful instrument. As I say, my passion this time is life. You know, is
well, it's lovely that you express your passion and you share your passion. So we're very blessed. So thank you
so much. It's been once again awesome. I'd love to say thank you to everyone. Okay, that has spoken there. So we have a lot of friends. Yeah, from all over the world, exactly. Yes, thank you.
No, thank you very much.
What do you? Okay, thank you. That's been wonderful. Okay, Greg, George, thank you all. Thanks, Greg. Thank you to Andrew, the whole Rocksteady crew out there.
Yeah,
thank you so much. I think Yvonne was in there.
Beth,
okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, beautiful people.
Okay.
Thank you. And once again, it's been a real blessing. And I think we did the tree of life. Did we? We get most of it done. Thank you. Okay. That's right. Exactly. Hi, Michael. I'm at Stonehenge today. Oh, I'm sorting out my tiles. It's okay. Bathroom.
Right.
Oh, look. Thanks so much once again, Jeffrey. Thanks very much for having us. Thank you, Andrena. It's been wonderful. It's always a pleasure with you guys. It's fun, even though it's always at the front. It's so tense. Where's my photos? Where my platters are supposed to be? Anyway, and they're there. They're there now. I found them, which is great. It's just. Great. I'm a pro. Right. Thank you so much, folks. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you, everybody.
And a good day. Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so I'll finish off doing that. Okay. Thank you, folks. And next week, who have we got next week?
Rick Dewars talking about GPMS.
This is going to be something off the wood, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
You're going to give a quick preamble? Something
no,
to do with...
No, I haven't got my notes or anything with me, so I can't give you much on it at the moment, I'm afraid, but I will put something later.
He's from Scandinavia, isn't he? He's somewhere? He's
Sweden or... like I said, I haven't got all my notes with me, so I couldn't tell you.
I think it's from Sweden, and he's got a mate from Cheltenham in the UK, isn't he?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a double act next week.
All right. All right. Lovely work. Michael,
thank you so much.
Friday week, yeah?
Yeah, looking forward to it. I hope to get there early too, so we can set up. And yeah, what's the earliest we can get there? Do you know? I'll get there about 6 or something. I think we can set up. We won't even get there earlier. Is there anything on before us? Because the earlier we can get up there. No, okay, we could, because people want to.
Did we stop?
Okay, hey, people embrace it. It's like Coronation Street. Everybody likes to get involved and listen. Okay, we'll go and then we'll stay in the green room. Okay.
Thank you.
Hang on.
Jeffrey's ghosting. Jeffrey's disappearing. It's great. Thank you all. Thank you.
Okay. God bless.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you all. It's been wonderful. Thank you. Okay. Ciao.